Hello, this is Cinema 1408, and this is the film Marmalade. A shy guy named Baron meets a girl named Marmalade, and they decide to rob a bank. However, Baron falls into a trap and ends up needing to escape from prison. The timid and scared guy named Baron ends up in a cell with a repeat offender named Otis, a dark-skinned convict who is an expert in prison escapes. Baron is willing to pay the bandit a whopping $250,000 if he can get him out by 3 o'clock tomorrow. Baron is desperate to get back to his beloved girl and is ready to part with all the money he has. Otis agrees to help, but only if he first learns Baron's story in more detail. Baron begins his tale with how he worked as a postman in his tiny town. He loved his job, but one day, his boss fired him. The guy was in despair since it was the only way he could pay for the expensive medicine for his mother. Upon returning home, he received a notification that the medication had significantly increased in price. Baron's mother is bedridden, unable to speak or even breathe on her own. For this reason, the young man is also tied to his mother and this small town where it's almost impossible to find work. While lying on the grass, a bright red-haired girl named Marmalade suddenly appears out of nowhere. She approached to find out what had happened to Baron. He couldn't hold a conversation with her, and the red-haired girl got back in her car and left. Baron was angry because he was shy and smashed a swing with a stick, but unexpectedly, Marmalade returned and suggested he give her a tour of his shabby little town. Baron couldn't believe his luck. From that moment, they became inseparable. Marmalade told him that she had spent her entire childhood moving between foster homes. Meanwhile, Baron's father was an astronaut who exploded in a rocket and never returned home, according to his mother. Baron also shared that he was now unemployed and his mother was sick, and her pills now cost a fortune. Marmalade asked to stay over at her new friend's house. When she came home with him, she met his barely alive mother, Anna. Marmalade settled in Baron's childhood room. The guy was very happy about this, hoping she would stay for a long time. The next day, the romantic brought home a bouquet of wildflowers, but unfortunately, Marmalade has a poor sense of smell. The expressive girl turned out to be the complete opposite of the shy Baron. She promised him that she would help take care of his mother and then suggested they rob a bank. Baron was shocked by such a proposal. To make Baron agree, Marmalade kissed him and called him the knight sent by heaven. Baron looked at his sick mother again and agreed to rob the bank. The next day, they spent eating ice cream, sitting across from the bank. Marmalade nervously said that they couldn't get to the bank as there was too much security around, but then she found another bank on the outskirts of the city, seemingly begging to be robbed. Marmalade quickly devised a plan in which Baron had to disable the surveillance cameras. She also taught Baron how to shoot a magnum, and then the crazy girl dragged Baron into a clothing store and had sex with him right in the fitting room. They went to a tattoo parlor where Marmalade got a heart with Baron's name, but when it was Baron's turn, the bearded man accidentally tattooed Mama instead of Marmalade. The girl suggested Baron start by cheating local shopkeepers to get small practice before moving on to robbing a bank. Because Baron spent all his time with Marmalade, he forgot about his mother. He noticed he only had a few pills left for his sick mother. At night, Baron slept on the floor next to Marmalade's bed like her loyal dog. In the morning, the girl put on a balaclava, which seriously scared the guy. In the woods, they found an abandoned house and broke into it. Marmalade said this forest house would be their lair. Later, she shared her tough childhood story with Baron, admitting she had a bad stepfather who did terrible things to her and other foster children and then threw them into a dog cage in his garage. She confessed that he was still free and continued adopting children. The girl started crying, but Baron comforted her. Marmalade and Baron entered a store to look for cool masks for robbing the bank. Baron liked a rooster mask, but Marmalade didn't want them to be called rooster robbers. Marmalade saw a mask with 3 faces and realized it was what they needed. Of course, she didn't intend to pay for them. Marmalade pulled out her magnum and aimed it at the seller, then knocked him out. The girl wanted to take all the money from the register, but she didn't have the key, so she left empty-handed. Meanwhile, Baron watched the whole thing in shock. Sitting in the car, Baron told her he no longer wanted to rob the bank. Marmalade assured him everything would be fine as she had done this before. To prevent her voice from being recognized, the redhead said she would use notes. Baron said he wanted to be with her always, and Marmalade told him it was impossible without robbing the bank. Their romantic moment was interrupted by his mother's coughing. Marmalade asked Baron to stay while she checked on his mother. Suddenly, Marmalade screamed. When Baron ran downstairs, he found his mother no longer breathing. The girl claimed she didn't understand how it happened. Back to the present, Otis sympathizes with Baron, telling him he doesn't talk to his own mother, who lives in Jamaica. He hasn't visited her in years, and she's also ill. A guard opened the door, telling them it's time to go to lunch. Otis told him to wipe his tears and go eat. In the cafeteria, other inmates quickly took Baron's food, and he was pushed face first into porridge. Baron told one of the inmates that something was stuck in his beard. The creepy guy stood up to smash his face, but Otis came to Baron's aid and choked the inmate. Guards dragged Otis away, and when they were alone, Otis easily removed his handcuffs, not because he was a magician, but because Otis was an undercover FBI agent. Otis had been searching for the red-haired girl in the pink outfit named Marmalade, also known as the baby doll bandit, for 2 years. Otis had never been so close to catching her. Meanwhile, Baron called Marmalade to tell her he was in jail but would be out tomorrow, and they would meet at the agreed place. Otis returned to Baron to hear the rest of his story. Baron continued, saying that with his mother dead, there was no point in robbing the bank. But an enraged Marmalade went completely insane and claimed she was pregnant with Baron's child. Baron prayed that nothing would happen to their baby during the robbery. Marmalade dressed in her usual pink outfit for the robbery, and they drove to the bank. Marmalade left Baron in the car, donned 2 masks, and went to commit another crime. The robbery happened quickly, and Marmalade ran out of the bank with a lot of money. Back at the cabin, she rolled around in the money. Baron felt uneasy, as they had stolen much more than they had planned. Marmalade admitted it wasn't her first robbery, not even the second. Later, Marmalade celebrated their success and cooked dinner. She asked her accomplice to bring the masks from the car to burn them. When Baron started looking for the masks, he found his mother's hidden medicine. The guy returned to the house and pointed her own gun at Marmalade. At that moment, the police arrived at the house. Marmalade reminded him of the emergency plan and asked Baron to surrender to the police while she escaped. They were supposed to meet at the agreed place tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. If he didn't show up, they would never see each other again. Marmalade grabbed the money and ran, while the simpleton Baron walked out of the house with his hands up and surrendered to the police. Otis demanded to know where exactly he and Marmalade would meet, but Baron said he would only tell after escaping. The prison guard opened the cell and allowed Otis to change into a police uniform. Baron climbed into a laundry cart with dirty clothes. Only one door separated them from the street, but Otis couldn't find the right key, arousing the guard's suspicion. Otis rolled the cart with dirty laundry in which Baron was hiding to the parking lot, while Otis himself was curled up on the floor. It turned out that almost no one in the prison knew about the operation to catch Marmalade, and that's why everything went wrong. FBI agents followed Baron's car. He bought a bouquet at a flower shop and left it on his mother's grave. Then Baron stopped at a cafe. Otis told the police to look around and search for Marmalade, and if she appeared, to capture her immediately. After a while, the car started moving again, and the agents continued the chase. The next time Baron stopped was at a gas station. The FBI agents thought their meeting would happen there and ran to the car to catch Baron. But it wasn't Baron who got out of the car. It was a cashier from the cafe. It turned out that Baron had given him his car for free and switched to another car. He then headed to the abandoned forest cabin, where he had hidden several $1,000s in the chimney. There were also newspaper clippings with photos of FBI agent Otis, who was the lead specialist on the baby doll bandit case. It turned out that Baron had been deceiving Otis all along, and he didn't have a buried mother. In the bank's surveillance camera footage, Otis saw the tattoo with the word Mama on Baron's leg. It turned out that there was no girl named Marmalade. It was Baron disguised as a girl. Baron then dressed up as a woman again and calmly passed through a police checkpoint. Later, a freshly trimmed Baron arrived at the pharmacy and collected his expensive order, all the medicine his mother needed. The medicine was called Edalamram, which is marmalade spelled backward. Almost all the stolen money was spent on these pills. Meanwhile, the agents arrived at the owner of the pharmaceutical company that produced these pills. He said that every time his money was brought to a bank, that bank got robbed. Yesterday, he was robbed of $500,000 again. Otis noticed that the company was called Baron Pharmaceuticals and asked the businessman if he had any foster children. He looked very much like the evil man Barron described in his story. Otis sent a search team to his garage. Indeed, the businessman had 3 cages where he had previously kept foster children. Later, Otis found a pastry on his car, the same kind Barron used to feed his mother. The agent went to the nearest pharmacy and questioned the pharmacist, who said Barron had come to buy medicine for his mother and then went to a travel agency to buy plane tickets. When Otis went to the travel agency, the agent said he knew Otis would come. Barron had left a letter saying goodbye and asking him to visit his mother. Inside the envelope was a first-class ticket to Jamaica. It turned out that Barron worked as a doctor in a nursing home, distributing the expensive medicine to all the needy old folks, including his adoptive mother, Anna. Thanks for tuning in, folks. If you enjoyed the movie review, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't lose me in YouTube's algorithms. If you'd like me to summarize another movie or series, let me know in the comments below this video. And if you're feeling generous and want to support this channel so I can afford more caffeine, you can become a sponsor by clicking the link in the description.